The Innovator Founder visa will replace the Innovator visa from early April, and the changes will be implemented on different dates starting from the 12th of April of this year. So the new route removes the 50,000 minimum funds requirement, and you can also now have secondary employment provided that it's for skilled work. Now, the startup visa is also being closed to new applications. And what the government said is that with the removal of the 50k minimum funds requirement for Innovator Founders, it's now no longer necessary to maintain a separate route for startup entrepreneurs that don't have these funds. So the startup visa is going. So what I'm going to do in this video is just go through in detail some particularly interesting provisions, and so just to allow you to know what's changed, but also what hasn't changed. So to start with, the qualifying period. So this is key. So the qualifying period requirement for settlement by an innovator founder is still 3 years. And for a partner, it's still 5 years. And I've talked in previous videos about your children and the point that they could qualify for indefinite leave to remain, depending on the circumstances. But all that has not changed. And that's kind of the key point. This remains an incentivized visa. In other words, the government wants tech entrepreneurs to come to the UK and is saying that you can qualify after just 3 years rather than 5 years as you would on a work visa, let's say. Now, also, starting again with what hasn't changed, the success criteria for indefinite leave to remain, they're effectively unchanged. And I've got 5 of my clients through now on settlement for the settlement stage, where I've acted for them from the beginning on their innovator visas, and they've now gone through to get indefinite leave to remain. So I've produced a bunch of stuff on this, but effectively those criteria are unchanged. So everything that I've said previously about this remains true when it comes to settling on an innovator visa. The next point is that a legacy endorsing body, let's just have a look at what that idea is, but a legacy endorsing body cannot endorse you for settlement if you were first endorsed by one of the new endorsing bodies. So basically what's going on here is there's going to be 2 kinds of endorsing bodies going forward. You're going to have the new endorsing bodies, and they may include ones among the current cohort, and you're going to have the old endorsing bodies, the legacy endorsing bodies. But the legacy endorsing bodies will still be able to endorse their own cohort for indefinite leave to remain. What you can't do, however, is start with one of the new endorsing bodies and then get endorsed for settlement by one of the legacy endorsing bodies. So they are effectively siloed going forward. Now, to just take the next point, you can take up skilled work, but you can't, for example, just hire yourself out or go through an employment agency, for example. And I've produced a passage here. I'm going to produce a separate video outlining exactly what roles you can take on. This is super important, I think, because it's been very restrictive under the innovator visa that you weren't able to take up employment. Now you can. And some of my clients, particularly in connection with financial technology, but also with other digital products, they do have a sort of mix of activities. So that will be great, and it's good that restriction has been lifted. Now the investment requirements, as I say, has been removed, but the financial requirement remains. Really surprising how many people get in trouble with the financial requirement. You only need to show 1,270 plus the extra amounts if you're bringing your family, but it's got to be for 28 days, and you've got to follow the documentary requirements. Yeah, this is black and white. If you don't meet that requirement, if it dips even for a day, then your visa would be refused. Just to take the next point, yeah, you need to show significant progress under your business plan, and this is really, it's unchanged, but this is what it's all going to be about now, and continue to be about. What progress have you made, judged against the business plan that you originally put forward? And if you said anything super optimistic in that original business plan, then that could come back to haunt you. So I've got to be really careful about what goes in the initial business plan. Now, the next one is the contact points. So they've formalized the idea of the contact points, which previously was only in the guidance, but they've gone very heavy on this. Now, contact points are mandatory and need to be at regular intervals. So the idea of intervals is you can't just have the contact points at the very end. You got to have, if you're just having a minimal number of contact points, they say at least 2 contact point meetings. One would have to be at the beginning of the visa term and one at the end. One would expect to be more regularly than that, but they must be regular. So you could have the contact points, the minimum number of contact points, but still be refused indefinite leave to remain or an extension to your visa if they haven't been at regular intervals. Now the next point, let's just have a look again on the investment requirement. It's removed, but now it's all about budgeting instead. So the fact that the 50k requirement has gone shouldn't kind of lull you into some idea that this is now super easy to get, or it's like the startup visa. No, I've seen this happen before in other visa routes. They're removing the requirements, right? But they're replacing it effectively with this a greater level of discretion in assessing whether this is actually affordable for you. What is it exactly that you want to do, and is it affordable? Do you have the capital requirements for it, and potentially the ongoing requirements, ongoing sort of cash requirements to run your business? So that's a super important point. I'd say that's the main point, in fact. And the main change is that in your business plan, you will have to do a lot on costing and budgeting over the full period, not just a cash flow analysis and not just profit and loss projected, but also full budgeting and working out where the money's coming from. And that connects with the next point, which is this is now all about due diligence, which it hasn't necessarily been, at least from the government's perspective, previously under the Innovator route. So under the Innovator Founder route, you can see here, it says that the endorsement letter has got to confirm that the applicant is considered a fit and proper person to receive endorsement. And the endorsing body has, quote, no concerns over the legitimacy of source of funds or modes of transfer of funds invested by the applicant into their endorsed business. So bear in mind here, Russian sanctions, for example, or capital controls in China. Let's read on. The endorsing body has identified no reason to believe that the applicant or their endorsed business may be the beneficiary of illicit or otherwise unsatisfactorily explained wealth. So let me give you one important point here. Tax. If the overseas business has not paid tax or has paid less tax than it ought to have paid, this is relevant to this consideration here. So the endorsing body has got to be completely satisfied. That is definitely going to involve a more encompassing due diligence exercise. And the Home Office is going to apply its own checks as well. So you'd have the due diligence and effectively AML checks, but also the fit and proper person test really goes beyond even that. So you have that level of checks, and then you'll have the similar checks or follow-up checks conducted by the Home Office. And from the endorsing body's perspective, they've got to make sure that they don't miss up, because it's on them if they've stated in the endorsement letter that you're a fit and proper person, and it turns out on the Home Office's checks that you're not, for whatever reason. And then genuineness. The applicant must be a genuine innovator founder applicant. And this is where they actually have broader discretion. Now, fine, you don't need to have the 50k funds, but they have a broader discretion to say yes or no at the Home Office stage. Now, remember, I said in one of my recent videos that there was a refusal rate of around 44% in one of the recent quarters. So these are people who have been endorsed, but then refused at the Home Office stage. They've been endorsed for the Innovator visa, and yet refused the Innovator visa because although the endorsing body said yes, the Home Office said no. Then termination of the visa, going on this theme of the Home Office taking its own view. Entry clearance may be cancelled or permission cancelled where a holder fails to undergo a contact point with the endorsing body. So previously it was based on the endorsing body reporting. Now there's a stricter approach. Then just back to that point on due diligence and the Home Office making their own checks. Look, the entry clearance or permission may be cancelled if the decision maker has reason to believe that the applicant is or has been the subject of serious civil or criminal action. So not just criminal matters, but they've been sued in connection with, say, financial crime or misconduct, or disbarred from acting as a director, or disbarred from carrying out regulated financial activities in any country. So they'll be doing those kind of checks. And again, just to finish off, this idea of legacy endorsing bodies. So let's look at the definition. It says it means an organisation which had previously been approved by the Home Office to endorse an individual, but is not permitted to endorse a new individual or business under the Innovator Founder route. So you're going to have effectively two classes of endorsing body. So I hope that's a helpful review of the main changes, so you know what's changed, what hasn't changed under the Innovator route. In the next video, I'm going to also look at the Global Talent Visa, some important changes on that as well that you ought to know about. See you soon. Bye for now.